What's up, everybody? Welcome to Mick Thinks Tiny. My name is Mick. So today we are talking about the Midwest. We're particularly talking about Ohio. This is a really awesome video for those of you who are interested in moving to the Midwest, or for those of you who live in Ohio currently, because we're going to talk about what tiny house community opportunities there are for you in Ohio. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, and let's jump into it. Let's talk about tiny house communities in Ohio. Alright, welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about tiny house communities in Ohio. I'm excited to talk to you guys about Ohio, particularly because I think the Midwest is definitely an attractive place to live. Especially if you're interested in all four seasons, if you're interested in a lower cost of living in general. But today we're talking about Ohio specifically, and there's a few reasons why. So first and foremost is the cost of living. No surprise there, Ohio has a much higher cost of living compared to the rest of the country. You're looking at about $68,000 for your median family income, and that's compared to $80,000 for the United States as a whole. You've got Columbus, Ohio, which is the largest city in the state. You've got the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which I didn't know that was located in Ohio. There's plenty of museums and national parks for you as well too. In terms of tiny house laws, just like most states in the United States, it varies significantly from county to county. So today we're going to talk about Dayton, Ohio. We're looking at Dayton County. You can have a tiny house in any location where you have zoning for single family homes. You can only have one per lot, but they also allow for shipping containers. So that's an interesting one for those of you who are looking for an alternative to your standard tiny house or park model, because shipping containers offer a lot of flexibility as well too. And you're looking at about 500 square feet maximum, which is pretty standard, a little bit higher than the 400 square foot standard, but still in that 500 square foot max. So when we're talking about tiny house communities, I've said this over and over again, but it's so important to think about this, because when you're looking to go tiny, you have a couple of options, right? You could buy land and put a tiny house there, but you could also live in a tiny house community. You could also put a tiny house in someone else's backyard, like family member or a friend, but ultimately tiny house communities I'm a huge advocate for because of the affordability piece. It's going to be a lot less overhead costs in terms of your initial buy-in, because you're not buying land. You're going to get those amenities as more and more communities are continuing to develop more resort-style tiny house communities. You're getting dog parks, you're getting pools, you're getting pickleball courts, you're getting clubhouses where you can have events and host your family and friends. And then the location, I foresee that over time we're going to see a lot more tiny house communities being built closer into major cities, and that's going to be a game changer for those of you who are looking to be in more urban environments, or on the fringe, if you will, between urban and rural. And then ultimately security as well too. I do think that more and more tiny house communities are going to be gated, and that gated community just adds an extra layer of protection for those of you who are looking to move into a tiny house community but travel, and so you won't be home as often. All right, so we're going to talk about 3 different options today when we're thinking about moving to the state of Ohio, or for those of you who are already there. First up is Cedar Springs Tiny Village. Now, I will say that this is the most formal tiny house community that I'm going to talk about in the state of Ohio today. So this is the only one really that I found, but this is what we're going to talk about, Cedar Springs. So Cedar Springs is located in New Paris, Ohio, about 10 minutes from Walmart, so really close to all those basic things you're going to need for your day-to-day life with groceries and shopping. They've got lakeside lots, which is a huge draw in my opinion. Their cost stays pretty low at $490 a month, and that gives you water, sewer, trash, maintenance. You have access to a community garden. They're pet friendly. Now, right now they currently have a wait list. So far as I know, in early 2025 when this video is being recorded, they do have a wait list, but you never know. New lots and opportunities could come up. So I wanted to mention them because they are the only formal tiny house community that I could find in the state of Ohio. Next up is Wheat Hill Mobile Home Community. Now, before you get frustrated or you're kind of confused about why I would include them, Wheat Hill Mobile Home Community is offering opportunities for tiny homes. So they've got special offers for tiny homes. You've got to reach out to them directly to find out what those are, but they're a well-established mobile home community. They were created in 2007, so almost 20 years. They're in East Palestine, Ohio, and they're about 20 minutes from a Walmart. The reason why I wanted to talk about Wheat Hill Mobile Home Community is there's a couple things. One, they do allow tiny homes in the community, so that's great. And 2, the lot rent, you can't beat it. It is by far one of the cheapest, if not the lowest ones I've seen. $305 a month for your lot rent. They welcome tiny homes, and they will pay up to almost $6,000 of your moving costs. Now, on the website, they mentioned that for moving your mobile home, but you never know. They might have something similar going on for moving your tiny home, and it can't hurt to have a little bit extra support with your moving expenses, because I know it can be pretty costly to move your tiny home. And then they have a community garden as well too. So even though this isn't a traditional tiny house community, I still see this as a solid and viable option because of how much money you're going to save on lot rent and the potential for them to help with your moving costs as well too. Next up is Black Diamond Tiny Home Village. Now, I don't know a ton about this one. I've came across their website. I can't tell for sure where they're at in their construction phase, so bear with me and bear with them in that regard, but it seems really promising. So this is what their website looks like. They are located in Shawnee, Ohio. They're about 30 minutes from a Walmart, so this is the most further out of the options that you've got in Ohio, but still reasonable price, $500 a month. It includes water, sewer, trash, maintenance. They will give you a discount if you can pay your entire lot lease for the 13 months up front. That could be potentially worth it, depending on how much money you have to be able to put towards moving into this community. They do require a $500 deposit. You can have pets in your tiny home, but they are under construction, so it's kind of like to be determined in terms of when you would actually be able to move there. So you would have to reach out to them to find out more information, because this is all I could gather from their website, which also seems like it's under construction. So, as I've talked about multiple times, it's really important to think about the structure of the tiny house community or the avenue you want to take for going tiny, because you can try out tiny before you buy it. So you could move into one of the communities I've mentioned before and other states where you rent it. There's some communities where you can just rent the home. You can buy the home and rent the land, which is the standard model, or you can buy the home and buy the land. To date, in the United States, to my knowledge, there is no tiny house community that allows you to buy the land. So we are still sort of on the edge of our seats waiting for whoever's going to take that first move and create that opportunity. So right now you're kind of looking at buying land, putting it in someone's backyard, or buying the home and renting the land from a tiny house community owner. But one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about this particular region in the country is because I want to ask you all the question, are you willing to move? At the end of the day, moving matters so much, as I've talked about, where you live in the US. It means so much in terms of what you have access to. So first and foremost, your cost of living is going to change depending on if you're on either coast. You're going to pay a premium. In the middle of the country, you're going to pay a lot less. In the south, you're going to pay a little bit less depending on where you go. The builders you have access to varies by region, as so many of you have seen. And as you see, if you look at the different builders I've had on the channel, they're kind of spread out, right? So like depending on where you want to move to, the builder you choose, it's going to affect your delivery costs. So all of those things factor into your decision. Climate, as we're seeing so much happening with climate changing in the United States, snowing in the south, hurricane warnings, fires on the West Coast, like there's so much going on. So like the climate is really, really important. And then ultimately your timeline. So I just wanted to sort of show you these top 4 things to keep in mind, because any one of these things could affect where you move, when you move, and how much it costs and what that looks like. But when we're looking here in Ohio, you've got 3 options that I've talked about. You've got Cedar Springs Tiny Village, your traditional tiny house community. You've got Wheat Hill, which is your mobile home community that allows tiny homes, has some discounts available for you. And then we've got sort of like Black Diamond, which remains to be seen when and if they're going to complete that and what that's going to look like. But ultimately, as with all of these topics in every video I mentioned, this is about you all and this is about what you think. So what do you think? Would you move to Cedar Springs? Would you move to a mobile home community? Now, I've had people on the channel who live in tiny homes and decided to move into mobile home communities or manufactured home parks. So there is a bit of opportunity for you there if you're willing to think outside of the box. We're still in this space in the industry where we've got to be creative when we're thinking about what it looks like to go tiny. So I can't stress that enough. Think outside the box, be willing to be flexible in what you're looking for. But ultimately, I want to know what you think. I appreciate you guys so much for watching. If you haven't seen other videos from other states, you can check those out here. And I will keep looking up states to find the most opportunities for you guys in terms of tiny house communities. Don't forget to think tiny, and I will see you guys in the next one.